Hey guys, it's animal time, and today I thought I would show my setups for my snakes. So I have a ball python and Mexican black king snake. Behind me I have my ball python setup, so I will start with his because it's right behind me. I have been a 40-gallon. Depending on your snake's size, ball pythons get a little bigger than other snakes, but a 40-gallon is kind of what I would say should be the best one that they should be in. You can go to 55 or even bigger. It's just going to be harder to maintain. Some people have them in 20s. That's like the very minimum, I would say, depending on your snake size. Males usually tend to be smaller than females, so I wouldn't have a female on a 20-gallon. Mine is a male. I already have him in his 40-gallon. I could have put him in a 20-gallon, and then as he got bigger, I could have upgraded him, but I decided to just go ahead and upgrade him into his 40-gallon immediately so that he could just have his home and establish his area for his whole life in his tank. I have two different heating systems for him. He has a heating mat that is under the tank, and then he also has his lamp. So I don't normally have his lamp on all the time. It kind of stresses him out. So I usually have it on for only a couple hours a day when I turn off his mat to cool down. So his mat is usually on all the time, most of the time, sorry, not all the time, because he likes to get belly heat rather than heat from above, because they like to hide and just stay in an area where they can't really be seen because they feel secure that way. So I have his mat under here, which is and there's a hide right over his mat so he can be under there and feel secure and have his warmth. So I turn off his mat a couple hours a day and turn on his bulb because his mat can get very, very hot, and I don't want it to overheat, especially if you have it on all the time, because I don't turn it off at night for him either, because my house usually gets to around 70 degrees, and you really want your ball python to stay at a 75 minimum at his cool side. So it's a little too cold in my house for him, so I always have his heat mat on so he can go to his warm side whenever he pleases. I usually always see him though on his cool side in that corner. He loves his corner. He's always there, or in here, but I rarely find him in his heat mat, on the top of his heat mat. But it isn't too hot for him there, so maybe he just likes to be cooler. So as well as heating, ball pythons actually need humidity as well. So ball pythons need a humidity of 60 to 65% humidity in their enclosure. So a couple times a week I will mist down his cool side of his enclosure to raise up his humidity. And his substrate actually helps with that. So the substrate I have for him is Eco Earth. So it is a coconut fiber along with something called cypress mulch, or forest floor as it is titled on the bag that I get. These both hold humidity very, very well. Other beddings that people have are like aspen, but I wouldn't recommend aspen because it can't hold humidity as well as the Eco Earth does. It can't really hold humidity at all. So what it does, it just kind of gets wet and then it starts molding, and it's not very good, as well as it can't help with shedding. Since Eco Earth can hold the moisture in the enclosure, it can help with stuck shed or just shedding in general. But when you have your ball python on aspen, it gets hard for them to release their shed when they are shedding. So yeah, other substrates to avoid are cedar, pine, and sands, calci sand and things like that, because they can cause impaction, or they just have a lot of dust, so it can get into their lungs and cause a respiratory infection, just things like that. Oh, I'm sorry, I kind of booped you. Boop. So yeah, Eco Earth and forest floor, the ways to go. And then I have like leaves and stuff to give him some enrichment and different things to, feel and stuff as he's slithering around in his enclosure. And then I have like some leaves and a bamboo stick right there. So I sometimes see him climbing on that, but I rarely do see it. But I have it in there so that he can have that enrichment. I also have some cork bark in there for him, just like kind of like, I don't want to say sticks. Are they considered sticks? I don't know what it's called, but basically just, it's enrichment for him to go to and, climb onto and twirl on and things like that. So let's go on to hides. His hides are, I have 3 different hides in there for him. So I have this hide, I have a tree looking hide, and then I have just a cork bark hide. So I usually find him not in this hide, but behind the hide, kind of hidden. He doesn't go inside of it. And then the next hide I'll find him in is the middle one. He does like this one a lot. It's kind of just in a warmish kind of zone. You're not too hot, you're not too cold. You're kind of in that perfect setting. You're kind of in that perfect temperature range. And then I hardly find him in his warm hide, but I do find him there. So he's just kind of warming up, getting all toasty. So I like to provide a lot of hides for him to, well, hide in. You don't want to have just one little place for your ball python to go and feel secure. You want to give him a lot of different places to go, so he has different enrichment and different places, really. Basically, I just like to give my ball python different places to go, so he's just not stuck going to one place to feel secure. He has multiple places he knows he can go to, just in case the other one doesn't feel so secure. Let's move on to water bowl. The water bowl's right here. You should have a water bowl that is big enough for your ball python to get in and actually soak in. It is very essential for your water bowl to be big enough for your ball python to go in, or any snake for that matter. It helps with stuck shed, or when they are shedding, to help loosen their shed to get off of them. And some snakes just like to be in water to cool off, things like that. So I have this one. It's pretty big for him, but I did see him a couple times actually soaking in it, so he might be close to giving me a shed. So he might be shedding soon. You really want your water bowl to be big enough for him to be in, as well as the thicker your water bowl is, the harder it is for your snake to actually tip over and things like that. So yeah, you want a water bowl to be like that. And then you want to switch out your water bowl, daily would be great, but at least a couple times a week would be essential to do. Do rinse out and clean off the inside of your water dish for your snakes, because they build up grime in there. You gotta rinse it out and wash it off. So yeah, here's Beanie. Many of you know him from my Meet My Animals video, but if you haven't watched that, go watch that after this video is done. That's my ball python setup. We'll go on to my Mexican black king snake setup. Alright guys, so behind me I have my Mexican black king snake setup. Let's start with his tank. He is in a 20-gallon tank right now. I don't want to upgrade him just yet because he's just so tiny. I think I would have a hard time finding him in a 40-gallon or even a 30 because of how small he is. This tank is working out just great for him. So as he gets bigger, I do want to upgrade him to at least a 40 because he's gonna get about 4 feet. He's not gonna be as thick, a thick boy. He's gonna be too long for a 20-gallon. I don't want that type of life for him. People do keep their corn snakes and Mexican black king snakes, just king snakes in general, in 20 gallons. I don't recommend this, especially adults, because they're just so long, and I just personally wouldn't want to keep my pet in something really small like that, especially when these guys like to move around, really curious. So I personally wouldn't keep them in a 20. I would want to put them in at least a 30. 40 is my go-to, even bigger if you would like. Let's start with what I have in there, starting with substrate. I have aspen substrate in there. Aspen substrate is a good substrate for king snakes in general. It holds their tunnels well. Aspen is a dry substrate. Mexican black king snakes don't really need humidity in their tank. If he needs to get humidity and stuff for shed, just his water bowl and him soaking in it in general is fine. He's shed for me about 4 times now. It's always been a full shed. I haven't had him have a stuck shed anywhere on his body, and I've always checked after a shed, and it's been working out perfectly fine. Aspen is a good substrate for him. So let's start with my hides. I have 3 different hides for him. His water dish is it is a hide as well. He can go in his water dish as well, so if he goes under his water dish, it's kind of really cool in there. So if he needs to cool off a lot, or even helping with shed, he can go under his water dish and it'll help. If you see your snakes going under their water dish in general, they might be coming near a shed. So I have his water dish in the middle. his water dish is here, and it's also a basking spot, and then he can actually go inside here. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but he can actually go inside of there. This hide over here is actually his cool side hide. I know the lamp is right there, the cable is weird, so I had to put it there. But that's his cool side, and over here, hot side. Well, his warm side. So he has his mat right here, right under the tank. I have a mat for him as well. I generally recommend that snakes have, unless they're, you know, snakes that climb, like green tree pythons, I recommend that snakes who are on the ground most of the time have belly heat rather than overhead heat, because they're not gonna really wanna come out just for heat when they can hide. So I would want them to have belly heat rather than overhead heat, but I do switch off my heat mat during the day for a couple hours so that it can cool off, and then I turn it back on. But most of the day the heat mat is on even through the night. And these guys do need a higher temperature, so around the 90s. I usually have my Kingsnake. Look at this boy doing a blip, sorry. But yeah, I have him around that area. So I have his hides, his water dish, and then I have like some enrichment for him. So I have a stick. I have a stick in there, and then just this little thing that looked cool to me, and I thought maybe he'd want to curl up in there, but I've never seen him in there before. So yeah, but I just think it looks cool, so I leave it in there. I do see him sometimes twirling up on the stick that I have in there for him. He does like to get on that stick and just kind of perch up there, but usually when I come into the room, he runs into one of his hides. He's more of a shy boy. Actually, he's being pretty calm right now, so I'm hoping he's getting to the point where he is okay with me handling him, since he still is a juvenile. So the younger snakes in general are more not cooperative, if that makes sense. They're more independent. They don't want to be left, they don't want to be touched really. So yeah, as they get older, and the more you handle them, the better they get at it. So I'm trying to handle him more. So yeah, that's my Mexican black king snake setup. So heat mat, hot side, water dish, cold side, some enrichment. That's pretty much all you need for Mexican black king snake. Alright guys, so that was my ball pythons and my Mexican black king snake setups. I hope you guys liked it, and if you have any questions, let me know. Or if you guys have any suggestions for me to help with anything, or if you see something that might be dangerous for them, just let me know down in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and go watch my other video if you haven't yet, where I talk about all my animals. And so yeah, bye guys!